Welcome back to TML Weekly. This is season 2, episode 26, as always brought to you by Bjorn and Don Cherry Sports Grill. Starting right off, as everyone knows, on the weekend, Sunday afternoon, Ovi broke the Wayne Gretzky record for goals, most goals in a career. No one ever thought it was going to happen. Ovi scored 895. You guys want to talk about that quickly?
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, it's the big news right now. It was pretty exciting, and I remember when Gretzky beat Mr. Howe, and I think the NHL and the New York Islanders and the Washington Capitals handled it perfectly. People complained about the stoppage of the game. That's something the game needs to be stopped for. Also, I look at it, and I've always been, we talked about this off the air briefly, but, Sid and Ovi came up, and I was always Team Sid, and he's liability defensively, blah, blah, blah. And, you can't argue he's the greatest goal scorer ever. And it's tough. It's tough to score goals. Tough to score goals then, too. You had a lot of big defensemen grabbing a hold of you and not getting called. But nowadays, the goalies are tremendous athletes. They're huge. I don't know what the average is, but 4 or 5 inches taller than they would have been in the 80s. And athletic, and the gear, the equipment, and the game's faster. So you can make an argument for either era, but the numbers don't lie. Good for him. I hope he plays a couple more years. He's fun to watch, and I'd love to see him get to 1,000 goals. I think that would be pretty cool if he could ever get there. What about you, Johnny?
So I picked Kara up on Friday night. She was at one of her friends, and we were coming home, and she said, "Dad, what do you think about nachos?" I went, "I can do nachos." And we snuck into the old Wendell Clark's in Burlington, and place was packed, and they had the game on the screen, and we watched the second and the third period, and man, Ovi was electric. And it was one of those things where I was glad we got to watch the game and enjoy it, right? Because it's a moment that is, I remember watching Gretzky, and if you're of my age and you used to collect hockey cards, there was a Pro Set card from 1990-91, I think, of Gretzky, when it was like the 2001 points, or when he went over the number. And just like things like that, you just you always go back to. And so we watched the game, and I thought, like, was there a better way for Ovi to score that, to break the record? Like that is the quintessential Alexander Ovechkin. I'm just going in my office, just give me the puck. And Gretzky used to be behind the net, was his office, and top of the face-off circle. And the crazy part is they all know it's coming. Yeah. It's like Mariano Rivera pitching. He had one pitch. Everybody knew it was coming. It didn't matter. So thrilled. I'm glad I got to see both guys do it. But here's a question that I want to ask you. And interesting that you brought it up, John. I'll let you think about this, Nolan. I'll go to you with it first. Career on career. Whose career would you rather have? Sid or Ovi?
Sid, 100%. 3 cups, 2 Olympic golds, World Cup, 4 nations. He's done it all. Yeah, Ovi has more goals. Crosby has more points. Yeah, 3 cups is the final answer.
Final answer. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, me too. What? Same reasons. But again, you can't. So something got brought up on another podcast today, and they said they asked if this would be appropriate if, let's say, both Ovi and Sid play one more year, and then they both announce that they're going to hang them up. Would it be appropriate to put them right into the Hall, a la Gretzky, Lemieux? Are they that high up on the all-time list? And I thought about it all afternoon, and I was like, yeah, I think so. I think that's an appropriate response for these two young men that really carried the game for the last 20 years, right? It was, if there was a lull in the NHL and it was, the hockey wasn't that great, or your team wasn't winning, you were always watching that Washington-Pittsburgh game earlier in their career. because you wanted to see who could outdo the other guy. And I don't think they liked each other very much at the beginning. If you can remember some of those early in both of their careers matchups, and they played in the playoffs 2008 or 9 or something like that. They didn't like each other very much, and then they gained respect as I think most hockey fans would for both of the players. I mean, we're sitting here talking about, two maybe of the top 10 of all time, top 15 of all time. That's a debate that we could go on forever, but I think they should. What do you think, Nolan? Do you think, should the Hall of Fame waive for those two players?
Yeah, it's tough call because who got the exemption, because it's normally 3 years minimum. That's why Yager's still not in it, because he's still playing overseas.
I think they missed the boat on him.
Yeah, so
I don't.
Gretzky and Lemieux, they got in right away. Yeah, I think Obi and Sid probably should.
Yeah, Guy Lafleur got in, and then he played again. Guy Lafleur was in the Hall of Fame. And then he played a season in New York and a season.
Yeah, he came back with the Rangers in '91 or something, right?
And then Quebec.
Yeah. See, I don't know. I like Ovi and Crosby are going to be inextricably linked forever by virtue of where they came in the draft, and same division, and going against each other in the battles. I don't know. Just me, right? I don't know that I would put either player, while exceptional, and fundamentally great, and I am not taking anything away from their skill set or what they've accomplished. As somebody who saw, I didn't see Guy Lafleur in his prime, but I saw Gretzky in his prime. I saw Lemieux in his prime. To me, those guys are still a cut above. Just to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, we could argue about it all.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Would you?
Why not? Here's my thought on it. Hockey, as an institution, has a tremendous run going right now. The Four Nations, you're going into an Olympic year. Things like that draw fans in, right? So why not? Is it disrespectful to Gordie Howe or Bobby Orr or any of the ones that came before them? No, they would probably agree with me and say, hey, if it's good for the game and it's something that we can celebrate and makes it, it more of a unique experience for the viewer. I absolutely, those two, then maybe you have to do it for McDavid, in a few years. Whippy do, right? It's another way to get eyeballs on your sport and celebrate the people that carried the ball for 20 years, right? You throw the Tays and the Canes and Drew Doughties and guys like that were always around too, and their teams were winning cups. But those two were the faces of the NHL until McDavid came for a long time.
And you can make the argument. You could still make the argument. McDavid's here now. Sidney Crosby is still the guy everybody goes to.
Yes.
Right?
They've got to win. Like the thing when we talk about the all-time greats, and they've won. They have won. Ovi got there. Ovi was on the outside looking in of this elite group of NHL players. And when he got that cup, and I think he knew that, because these guys will say, oh, I don't read the press, or I don't listen. BS. You're getting clips sent to you on your phone when somebody says anything about you. That's how it works, right? You know what's out there. And people were talking, oh, he's a great player, but they'll never win. He's selfish. He doesn't play in his own end. He's, doesn't look after himself, which I think was a little bit of a stretch because,
Did you hear Malkin's quote today?
He played and scored 896 goals.
Did you hear what Malkin said?
What?
Did you hear what Evgeny Malkin said when they talked to him about, what he thinks about Ovechkin? He was like, actually, I'm a little pissed off. He was like, I eat right. I'm in the summer. I'm working out every day. I'm doing the best I can to stay healthy. Ovechkin, that guy drinks beers, never works out, doesn't eat right, and just, breaks his leg, comes back, still scores 40 goals. I don't know what's going on with that guy. Yeah. And I thought, that is fantastic. Like, I thought that was the best thing ever.
And I've made this argument about Guy Lafleur for a lot of years in a lot of different debates that I've had. And Guy Lafleur is legendary, right? He, drink coffee, smoke cigarettes between periods. Like, he drank all night, get up, play an afternoon game. Like, there's stories upon stories.
Championship
career. But it worked for him, right? Like, people say, well, what if he had ate right and got a good night's sleep? And,
it could have gone the other way, though.
Yeah, he could have, that was his way of maybe coping all those different things that he did with, being the player that he was. And I mean, he was electric, right? Always the same way, right? He put make Ovi drop 20 pounds so he's a little faster, and tell him to eat right, and, lay off the beer. He's probably not breaking this record. It's worked for this guy, right? Yeah. Statistics show you probably are better kids to look after yourself. Don't be an Ovi or a Guy Lafleur.
No darts in between
we're
periods.
Not promoting any of that.
But, don't do that.
Yeah. So Leaf show, we got to obviously get back on track here. Couple games last week, statement games, really. If you're looking at it, the way the standings are so goofy right now. And you don't know, it's going to be, Nolan pointed it out, it's going to be Florida or Ottawa, I would think. Unless Montreal went on a heater and, they could sneak into that spot. But those are the two that you're looking at.
One of the Kachuk.
I'm starting to kind of want Florida. They're banged up. Their best player hasn't played since the Four Nations. Are you telling me he's going to be able to come in at 100% now? No.
Yeah. So tonight they got
the defenseman for the first two games of the series, and Marchand, he looks fine. I've watched a couple of their games since he's been there. He's going to help, right? No Sam Bennett right now. What's wrong with him? He plays a heavy style of hockey. If he's got a shoulder injury or a wrist injury or something like that, he's not going to be able to play his game. So, and Ottawa, honest to God, and I've said this the last couple of weeks, scares me. Nothing to lose. They were out of the playoff picture at Christmas time. Another year of Ottawa, Buffalo, and Montreal out of the playoffs. That's what it looked like. And then kaboom, right? Ottawa and Montreal. Montreal's scary to me, too. They signed Demidov today. He's coming. Right? He's the best player, not in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
That's like getting, nice but better for nothing going into the playoffs. Nice, but who's played at a pro level for the last 3 years, right? You're talking a big impact. When they got him, Montreal is going to be a problem in the playoffs. If he's as advertised, let's put it that way. I don't know. I haven't seen many clips of him, but his numbers in the KHL playing against 30-year-olds is pretty darn good. And, he comes in there and rides the wave with them. So Montreal and Ottawa, I'll take Florida right now. But I want to win the division. I don't want to, have Tampa go ahead, because that second round, Game 7, is going to be important, right? And if it's, if you need a couple more wins right now, you got to get them. So you're going all out. You're trying to win the division, and whatever happens, happens. That's my theory. What do you think, Noah?
Yeah. So it's definitely you obviously want to get home ice. If they win tonight, they lock up home ice in the first round. So guaranteed top 2 spot in the division. So like you said, it'll be huge for the home ice. And if there's Game 7 in either of the first 2 series, I don't know. John and I were talking about before the show started. Either way, you're getting one of the Kachuk brothers. So it's lose there. But it comes down to Bobrovsky or Ullmark. I'd probably rather play Ullmark. But Florida, I don't know if they're tanking for us. That's pretty good bulletin board material for their Berube to put up in the room. And it's kind of like you said. Ottawa has lower expectations. It's kind of house money getting the playoffs right now. Florida, if you upset them, the momentum you get from that will carry you on, I think, a lot further if you can get through them. Yeah.
You got to beat them all, right? You want to go on a cup run, doesn't matter who's in front of you. You got to beat them all. And if it's in the first round or the fourth round, it doesn't matter. You got to beat them all. So they play the right way, and
I hear the theory.
play the right way.
I hear the theory, and the theory's not wrong. However, there is, whether we want to admit this or not, there is a psychological component with this team that we can't pretend doesn't exist. And the first round is pretty titanic for us. And so I'm looking at this and I'm kind of thinking like, again, this is Leaf logic, right? We win the division and we're feeling great about ourselves, and our reward might be Florida, right? I like Noel said, man, we were talking about it in my heart of hearts. I just believe that psychologically, I don't want to see Florida at all in a first round. And I used the game last week, and we'll get in and we'll talk about last week for a little bit. Florida was missing half their team last week, and it took everything that we had and a ridiculous goaltending performance to sneak out with a 3-2 win. I look at this and I think back and I go, in those tight games, Florida's been on deep runs many times. They know how to play that game. And when Bobrovsky is on, Jesus can't score.
Yeah. I see your point.
And so I look at it now and I say, like, listen, I've said this all the time. Whenever we play Montreal, whenever we play Buffalo, whenever we play Ottawa, it doesn't seem to matter if they're good, if they're terrible. They give us their best, and it's always tough. For me, as good as they're playing, Ottawa might be, like, if we're all being honest about it, Ottawa might be the best team since the Four Nations break. Like, that's how good they've been playing.
Well, they have been. Them and St. Louis.
Oh, St. Louis. Can't forget about the Blues, which pains me to say. But, I'm looking at Ottawa, and I'm still thinking young guys, haven't been to the dance, like Giroux, fine. But like the bulk of that team was Stützle and everybody. They don't really know what they're getting into necessarily. I'd rather take my chances with Ullmark than with Bobrovsky. So I'm still leaning towards Ottawa myself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at. I can see both sides of the coin for sure. But on the other hand, if you can go out and smash Florida, right? You go out and beat them in 5, you're going to be pretty pumped up going in. Or you go and beat a team that wasn't supposed to be there in 7, and then it's one of those things, right? We have to wait it out and play it out, and I'm excited for the game. Like Jack just popped in here. Who do you think Toronto should play if you got to pick, and we're choosing between Florida and Ottawa?
Ottawa.
Yeah, he wants Ottawa too. So I'm the only. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you got to beat them all, and go on a run here. And
wouldn't it be nice?
Right, there's similarities between Florida and Toronto, and that's the coaching, and that's the next guy up. That we're going to play like this, and we're deep. We've got a lot of guys on the outside looking in that could be in any other NHL lineup, and Toronto's in the same boat. So I would think if Toronto was down a couple guys like Florida was, I think they'd play the right way, and so whoever they play, it's going to be a good series. I think.
Wouldn't you like to see Florida and Tampa just kick the
absolutely. One of them gone, right? Absolutely.
Like a 7-game war, but like a 7-game war.
You don't want to have to play both of those teams because you're going to go, and then you're going to go play Carolina, who hasn't been hit in 8 games.
Yeah.
Right. So physically,
wait a minute. So are you telling me right off the bat you don't think Sheldon Keefe is going to beat Carolina?
You know what? That Carolina team, I don't get it. Like,
so just to be clear,
one of the best players in the world, and then they're awful, and then they get rid of him and bring in a rookie, Stamkos, and now they look like they're going to win the cup. So you don't know.
So just to be clear, we're all projecting another first-round loss for Sheldon Keefe. Is that what we're saying here?
I would think, yeah.
Okay. No, I just wanted to be clear. Just wanted to be clear. I'm a non-biased Sheldon Keefe guy, so I just wanted to get everybody's opinion.
Canes and 5, but to be fair, they are missing Jack Hughes.
Having said that, watch out for – so Washington will get The second
Montreal.
wild card, which would be watch out Washington. I don't think Washington wants to play that team.
I think
you're
2010,
right.
it was Washington won the President's Trophy, and then Montreal was the 8th seed. God didn't beat them. So you never know.
Yeah. So anyway, but and then so how many left? I know the Florida,
6.
Tampa.
Yeah, at least have 6 left. 4 on the
Florida,
road, 2 at
Tampa, and
home.
then back home for who?
Buffalo, Detroit.
Yeah, so this week you got Florida, Tampa tonight, tomorrow. Saturday back home against Montreal. Sunday down to Carolina.
And then
Next
Buffalo,
Tuesday
Detroit.
in Buffalo. And Thursday end the season at home against Detroit.
Okay. So yeah, I
With
mean
Buffalo
these
and
two are the
Detroit. Hopefully by then you
these-
can rest a couple guys, and
These two are the key. If you can beat these two teams on the road, I think you're going to pretty much sew up the division. And then, if you got to rest a couple of guys in the last two and you've already locked in, before that, nobody's chasing anything major except maybe Marner 100.
yeah, Willie 50, but he needs 6 and 6.
Yeah, but you know what?
I don't think that's priority.
These guys know that Craig Berube is going to do. If you remember last year, they were chasing stuff, and then all of a sudden, Willie and Matthews can't play in half the games in the series. They still
I think the other week someone asked Willie about how many goals he had, and he said he doesn't even know how many he has. Like, he doesn't care. He just wants to win in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's got
what do you want to hear?
Yeah, for sure.
No one's talking about Marner 100 points or.
And then in the West, just to briefly touch on the West, St. Louis Blues, they're going to be a problem for somebody in the playoffs. And then just some of the matchups, I look at it every day and go, oh my goodness, one of these teams is going to be gone in the first round.
Dallas, Colorado is going to be
crazy.
Either team could win the cup. That's how good those two teams are.
Well,
Branson against Colorado.
And the Atlantic is the same thing, right? You're going to get two teams somewhere that, Tampa, Florida, and Toronto, one of those teams is gone in the first round.
Yeah.
Right?
A series that we haven't really seen very often is LA and Edmonton.
Yeah. Wow.
We got there.
Edmonton needs to get some points, so they don't want to have to go to LA for game 7.
Yeah.
Listen, LA at home is pretty they're they lost 4 games all year, I think.
They lost last week
to Seattle.
5 games all year.
He's against Seattle though.
But the flip side is, if you're Edmonton, and with the way they've played, is anybody intimidated by that goaltending tandem?
No,
I don't think
he's intimidated by Edmonton. I think Edmonton's going to take a step back in the playoffs this year and could possibly lose to LA in that first round. And I just don't think they have the depth and the horses.
I agree.
That Dallas and Colorado and even LA. LA's a well-balanced team.
Vegas.
You got Vegas, right? Winnipeg. St. Louis. It's going to be a dogfight out there, right? So, I think it's going to be a good playoff run all the way around. There'll be lots of good matchups, and maybe we'll do some pregame 15-minute hits before the Leaf games if you guys are around and you're home.
For sure.
Yeah, so
if that works.
At our next show, there'll be 2 games left, Buffalo, Detroit. So hopefully by then we'll know who we're playing, what the matchups are looking like, who's got home ice. So we'll touch on the playoffs next episode a bit more. But
I had a question that somebody asked me today, John. And I'll ask your opinion from just a coaching perspective, purely from a coaching perspective. He was a little frustrated that it was an optional skate yesterday.
You broke up. I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, okay. He said he was a little frustrated because there was an optional skate. And his feeling at the time is that at this time of year, everybody should be on the ice and we should be completely going full tilt. I'll save my 2 cents for it after you speak. But I just thought from a coaching perspective, as somebody who's been down this road a couple times and understands where the players are health-wise and whatnot and what they would get out of the practice, what is your response to somebody who says, why aren't we practicing every day?
Who said the Chief didn't say that?
No. This was a question that came to me offline.
Oh, okay.
From somebody who's watching.
From a coach perspective, you got to know your players, right? There's certain players that's not good for them. That doesn't help them. They need their time away from the rink. They're at the rink every day for meetings and video and this and that and the other thing. There's certain players that wear and tear. If Greg Berube expected everybody to be at an optional skate, it wouldn't be an optional skate. It'd be like we're having a practice, right? It's a long, arduous season that guys get, banged up on a daily basis. And, a good coach knows when to skate and when not to skate. And if they need to work on something or they don't need to work on something, or they just need to be away from the rink. That's kind of, I trust Berube on that side.
Yeah. And then like my other thought pattern there is, it's not like we're developing new things right now. This is about refining at the end of the season, right? Guys know where they're supposed to be. Your Philippe Myers, your Nick Robertson, those are the guys that are going to be on the ice. They're going to be the guys that are doing the skates and showing up and getting the extra work in with the coaches. And a lot of those guys, whether it's Matthews or Nylander, they're probably in with the masseuse, getting work done, having things done. I remember Wendell Clark used to say, in his last 2 or 3 seasons, he'd get to the arena at 8 or 9 in the morning just to get ready so that his body could be ready to play at 7 o'clock at night, because there was so much stuff that had to get done to him. So, I agree with you. I think that the coach knows his players. And if you're worried about, the Leafs having optional skates, don't worry about it. If that's the worry, we're okay. So that's where I'm at. One thing that I would be remiss, again, I feel like we do this every show recently, and I really hate it and hope that it stops real soon. But Greg Millen passed away last night. And so it's funny. My best friend, his all-time favorite player was Greg Millen. And so, I remember when we used to go to the card show that used to come every year to the Metro Convention Center, where they have all of these dealers come down. And we went through over a weekend and we bought out every single Pittsburgh Penguins 1979, 1980 Greg Millen rookie card. And he's got about 75 of them at home.
Wow.
Signed, everything. And so, it's a tough day. He was 14-year career, great goalie, fantastic announcer. I always loved Greg Millen commentary on the.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. He was. I like watching him play too. He was the old school kind of Mike Palmateer kind of goalie, and he's
Reggie Lemelin kind of bouncing around with those pads. Yeah,
double pad stacks, and arms flailing
everywhere, all over the place. Yeah, old time hockey. It's great.
Yeah.
We have a question in the chat. How old was he? He was 67.
Yeah. So anyway, let's enjoy the next couple of games, and hopefully, process is more important than the results. Really, at the end of the day, if you play the right way and you lose, that's okay. The wins will come more than often, but thanks to our sponsors, of course.
So here's the question before we go: yes or no? Are we winning the division?
Yes.
Yes.
3 yeses.
How many points of 8 are you getting?
We're winning the division? Yeah. Jack said yeah.
Okay, Kara just said they're winning the division too. So that's 5 out of 5. That never happens.
Out of 8 now. How many points are we picking up in the next 4?
6.
6.
Yeah, I'm going to say 6 too. I think 6 gets it done.
Yeah, I'll go 5 just to be different.
There's always one.
All right. See you guys.
Go Leafs, go.